So we are back at it again. So we're gonna give Facebook some time to like really call all our friends and get everybody. Can someone lower their volume? You know somebody's listening on their phone. Anybody have the device on? So where are we getting that feedback from? Someone's watching it live on Facebook.
Yeah, so if you're watching it live on Facebook and you're on here, we ask that you kind of mute your Facebook so it's not picking up that feedback. So it's one of the ladies. So it's either Grace or
Somebody.
Stephanie. Check your hi. Go ahead and see if you're on Facebook, and if you are on Facebook, please mute Facebook.
You need to take all the volume off of your Facebook if you're looking at the new device. Okay. All right.
All right.
Great. Thank you, Josanne. Thank you. Thank you. So, guys, we are already live. And what we're going to do, we're going to wait for Facebook to come and just bring some of our friends on. In the meantime, what we can do, we could share it on different platforms. You guys should all be seeing it reflecting on your personal page. So, let me just play a little bit of music while we wait for Facebook. And we just had round one, and it was great. It was great. We had lots of interaction, lots of questions. I'm hoping for this better. Well, okay, I'm seeing we have a viewer. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as you're coming in, you could just say hi in the comments so we can know who you are. So, guys, let's encourage our friends to come on, to show their support. I think this is all that the people who are going to be on for today. We have two more people, but we let the show go on. Okay. So this is being live streamed on various platforms. So guys, if we're just gonna be relaxed, we're just gonna have conversations. So Janelle, I'm gonna tell you to just, start whenever you're ready. I don't know how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it the same way.
Yeah.
But I think we can kind of like jump into it.
So remember that if you're on StreamYard, to go ahead and kind of either turn off Facebook or really begin to lower the volume. The viewers who are coming on, we are actually having a giveaway at the end of this. So what we need you to do is comment your name. Also, while you're here,
Someone is going to be, okay, it's Stephanie's phone.
Okay. So also while you're here, if you could drop your name in the comment, we will actually add your name to our prize winning list. And then your name may be pulled at the end. And if your name is pulled at the end, you will win a prize. But the catch is you have to stay on until the end in order for you to win the prize. So now that you're here, go ahead and share with your friends. Drop their names in a comment. Put that little @ sign in their names. Invite them. And you will have an opportunity to share. So please, while you're joining us, invite the people that you know, people that you need to hear this. Hey, Natasha, I see you back, girl. Invite the people that you want to hear this, because we're going to get into round 2. We're super, super excited to have you all here. We're super excited to get started with the authors and sharing their stories. So shortly we'll begin welcoming you. Well, actually, I'm going to begin. I'm going to wait. You want me to wait for Miss Stephanie to return, or you want me to just dive in?
Let's just dive in.
right. So I'm gonna dive in because what you are witnessing is part two of the VIP virtual pre-launch book panel discussion, where we are here with best-selling. Let me rewind. International best-selling authors of the 2020, the year all the limits were served, how to find optimism during adversity. So thank you so much for being here. Share, share, share. And we're going to get into round two. Before we get started, what we're going to do is we're going to allow the visionary author to introduce herself. And then we're going to have the authors or give the authors an opportunity to also introduce who they are. So, Miss Reea, tell us who you are.
Well, first off, I just want to thank you, Dr. Janell Jones, for writing with me. This is session two. So my name is author Reea Rodney, or I'm also the visionary author in the professional space. I am a self-publishing consultant and book coach. And what that means is that I work with aspiring authors to help them to get published, right? I am very, very thankful to be here today. Today event, we are celebrating these dynamic international best-selling authors that we have here, and it's all about bringing visibility to them. And we are also doing a pre-book launch. So, guys, that what I mean is that we are here to support them by getting on the website and just really purchasing this book. So, I ask you to just stay with us throughout this entire session and truly show your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. As you listen, because what we're doing, we're going to have a panel discussion. We're going to talk to the authors more about kind of their chapters and things like that. But as you're listening, I am telling you, this is a key in the conversation that you're having with them about their stories. And then also, we're going to talk about other things when it comes to adversity. So, you listeners have a prime opportunity to really get some golden nuggets from these ladies. I would recommend grabbing a notebook or something because I'm saying last time we had like 2 pages full of notes. Gems were being dropped, I'm telling you, everywhere. So I know the same is going to be back. So what I need you to do is probably get some pen and paper because you're going to want to really hear this. And again, if you're just joining us, welcome to the VIP virtual pre-launch and panel discussion. And what I need you to do if you're new is drop your name in the comments because you have a chance to win at the end. The caveat though is you need to stay with us the whole time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually allow the authors to introduce themselves. So anyone can go, just tell us a little bit more about you.
All right, I'll go first. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in. I hope you can share this link with all the other friends as well. I'm Grace, right, Roseman. I'm currently a health and safety officer, but I have spent many years working in libraries, acting as librarian. I love books. I love children. I love dealing with people and making them happy. And this program has been such an inspiration for me. It has been life changing for me. And it really has helped me heal throughout a number of items of adversity, I'll say. Yes. So I am so excited about this anthology. I'm so grateful to the visionary author Reea for accepting me as part of her team, and I am so, so, so pumped. I'm hoping you guys will go out and buy that book, right? Because we are here for you as well. Yeah.
All right. My name is Josan Rojas, and I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, but I live in the island Tobago. I'm a business professional, and I'm what I call myself a new kid on the block in the world of writing right now. I'm about to release my first book called What Do You Believe? And I'm also doing that book with Reea. And while we were going through that process, I heard about the anthology and I decided to jump on board. The story and the vision behind it is right up my alley. And I believe 2020 has been a definite roller coaster year for everyone in the world. And I know everyone would be able to relate no matter what country they come from, what age, what gender, it doesn't matter. Everyone will be able to relate to the stories and the testimonies in that book. So I have two kids, two boys. One is 2 years and one is 11. And this is me. I'm on this new path of writing.
Okay. Awesome. Next. Stephanie, are you on mute?
I just unmute you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My name is Stephanie Hammond. I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. I'm a social worker by trade, an event planner, a momager, and also a pageant queen. So far for me, I'm grateful to be a part of the book, and it's been a great experience. And I live in Brooklyn, New York.
All right. So I do want to welcome Miss Tynell Jack. Thank you so much for being here. So Miss Tynell, Miss Natasha, you've been entered to win. So if you stay to the end, and Miss Natasha, you holding on, girl, I appreciate it. If you stay to the end, you will be able to win the prize. So Miss Reea, we're going to get into what I want to talk about is you. Tell us about yourself.
There we go again. I feel like all I've been doing over the past 2 hours is talking about myself because this is our second session. So, I really like to introduce myself firstly as a woman of God because that is who I am. My faith is so important to me, and I know that I will not exist if it wasn't for Him. Everything that I do is really a direction of God and His vision for me that I so humbly embrace because He know the plan He has for me. So I am a mom. I'm a mom of 3 young adults. My kids range from the age of 20 to 26. I'm also a wife. In the professional space, I am the CEO of Dara Publishing, and I am a self-publishing consultant and book coach. So I work with aspiring authors, like I said, to help them to get published. And I've been so blessed to work with so many incredible people. I think I've embarked on this journey full time about a year and a half, and I've already worked with probably almost close to 60 people, and that is a blessing. I'm also a author as well. I've written approximately 21 books, heading to be 22, and I am a 4 times best-selling author, #1 best-selling author, and also an international best-selling author. So what it is I do, I make people international best-selling authors. I make them author. I really just help inspire people. And this anthology program is one of that. The authors, they are here to share the story, but as they embark in this, they too go through their own personal healing. And then they too also find their identity, find their calling, and also add some different extra titles to the name, such as best-selling, international, author, and even coaches, speakers. So in this space, it's all about empowerment, and I'm thankful to God for that gift. And I'm thankful for you guys who are here for being a part of this journey, even in this space right here, right now, and for the viewers. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, guys, thank you. We're going to take another quick dive or deep dive. Well, the deep dive is you actually purchase your book, then we'll give you the links on how to do that. But the quick guide is to really talk about this panel. But before we get into that, we're going to have each author tell you the title of their chapter and then why they decided to actually join this anthology.
Come on, guys.
Go ahead. Anyone can go. It's free for all, ladies.
Please share the title of your chapter, any one of you, and why you decided to say yes to this anthology.
Awesome. My name is Stephanie Hammond. My chapter is called The Dark Horse, and I decided to be a part of the anthology because I felt like I went through so much in that time period that being the dark horse, it basically shows you how you can be in a deep situation and come out of it. In my situation, several things. I worked in a nursing home. I saw death knocking at people's doors, and they were able to overcome it. I work in a 100-bed facility. Two, I went through a process where 2019, 2020, 21, I was in a better situation where I had an accident 2015, and overcoming it, I saw that in those years things got better, some things got worse, but I had the determination to get through it because there was so much to take care of during that time. You know, one, having a family, one, having to work, and I didn't have time to sit there and say, "Oh, pity me," you know. So, and being a dark horse, I felt like kind of like the underdog, and I was in a process of being in a pageant where it had been postponed and postponed, and a part was like I went through so much where I said I was asked to be in this pageant, and I wanted to go through with it, even though people looked at me and said, "Oh, you know, she's in her 50s. Why would she do this pageant?" And then with the elements that I had, I figured that for me, take a stand to do something for yourself instead of let people tell you that, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that, and letting your elements hold you down. Take a stance to say, look, I'm going to put effort into this, I'm going to do it, you know. And I did. So um for me, that time period, I had ups and downs. I developed anxiety, and I just had to sit down and figure out how can I get through all the things that I was trying to get through during that time? Even though women, being mothers, being married, you know, working, it was a lot, but I got through it.
Let me take a quick pause and welcome Candace back. You ladies are riding and dining. I love it. Thank y'all so much for coming back for round two. So thank you so much, Stephanie, like for sharing your story and how you were able to kind of persevere through those many different hats, especially being in a social worker. And we know the facility, the nursing home was one of the biggest facilities that were impacted by 2020. So we want to thank you. Grace, go ahead. Tell us the title of your story and kind of give us the download, I guess, of what made you do this anthology.
Okay, so my chapter is called Cast Down But Not Destroyed,
Mhm.
Finding Hope in Love. And the reason I joined this anthology was that I realized that the very title, Finding Optimism in the Midst of Adversity, it struck a chord in me because I felt like my entire life was a series of episodes of adversity. And by God's grace, I'm here today. And 2020 to 2022 has been the peak, so to speak, of of the challenges that I've been going through. And I think because of the history I've had in terms of dealing with adversity, dealing with problems, and having to come overcome them, just the title alone, when I saw it, it made me feel like, Lord, should I really do this? I feel like I should do this. And I had to pray about it. And I felt such a urging, like a nudging in my spirit that, hey, this is something you need to do. And I believe it was something that would cause me to heal, yeah, even faster than before. And so I went through a number of things, which you will hear later on, even in this podcast, and if you get the book, right? But just the very title alone, it struck a chord in me and in the experiences I've had in the past that has made me want to embark on this journey of writing the anthology. And the fact that I've wanted to write other books as well. In 2020, I actually started writing my own books, children's books in particular. I've not published them yet. They'll be out soon by God's grace again. But this this anthology was supposed to be a way of getting my feet wet in terms of becoming an author because I want to be an author. Now I'm a best-selling international author, right? So, thank God for that. And I'm really excited about this journey. And this anthology was a way for me to begin it, and I'm enjoying it. It has been a learning experience, in so many ways. But I I'm really glad that I did it.
Awesome. Miss Josan, am I saying it? Tell us more about you or your chapter, and also what made you decide to get started with this.
So
Not, yeah. What's the name of
the name of
your
my chapter is Writing on Broken Lines to Carry or Miscarry the Promise. And basically, it's about one experiencing a physical miscarriage, but also going through a spiritual birth, or pregnancy, I should say, a spiritual pregnancy of a promise from God. And God basically challenging me through that time to if I'm going to carry or miscarry his promise. And so you'll get to know more about that story when you purchase the book and you have a good read. Why I joined the anthology? Well, first things first, I'm very private, but I've been compelled to start sharing my testimonies and stories, because sometimes we go through things and we don't share it. We don't give other persons a word of encouragement based on our experiences or things that we would have healed from. And so I decided that, instead of always burying the things that I'm going through or the things that I've learned, maybe I need to put it out there so that someone else can hear it and be encouraged or also learn the lesson that I'm learning. So that's basically why I joined the anthology.
uh listen, I know last time we kind of got into kind of like talk about the vulnerability, but let me just say it really takes a lot of courage for a person to write their story and for someone to like be vulnerable to share their innermost thoughts with you about what they went through. That's courage. That's challenging, and especially a person who is already private. So when we say go get the book because they share in very detail the things that happen to them, and not only that, you get in exchange ways that they were able to turn their lemons into lemonade, you want to make sure you purchase your copy. The way we did this though is we were able to provide you with each author's link. So if you know whatever author, whichever author, just go ahead and click their page. If you don't know any of the authors, just choose one randomly or choose one that God is leading you to and purchase their book today. By the end of this, we want to see that you purchase this book. Why? I'm glad that you asked. The reason why is because I know, like reading their stories, it was some very important information on how you were able to take any adverse situation. And let's just be honest, we're all faced or have faced or will face adversity. So when the next time comes, because we know it's going to be a next time, we ain't going to sit up here and play, you will have some tools handy and ready for you to move forward. So, what I really want you to do is make sure you get the book today. Thank you, Miss Allison, for joining us. We're going to go ahead and add you to our prize. So, listen, if you're just joining us and you want to get the ultimate prize, make sure you're putting your link and your name in the comments. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is go on to the next author. We're going to get into more of a we're going to get into more of a just questions. We did some questions last time. We're going to do more questions this time. And although we did have our first round, we're going to also allow Miss Reea to answer this. And I can't go without you answering. Being the visionary author of this magnificent book, I can't allow you not to share really your vision for the book.
Of course, that will be just wrong, right? So, once again, I am a woman of faith. And when I say this, perhaps if you don't know me, you mightn't take me seriously, but I really do not write unless God inspire me. And 2020, after recovering COVID, God laid this book and two other books in my heart. And He said it was an anthology, which I researched, and that is how this book was birthed. 2020, the year all the lemons were served, finding optimism during adversity. And as we know, when 2020 came along, so many of us, each and every one of us, were faced with adversity. And life most definitely tossed not one lemon, not two lemons, but I mean lemons our way. But the subtitle is Finding Adversity, finding optimism during adversity. And that's something that many people aren't able to do. And what this book does is that we, the authors, we were able to share our adversity, our trials, our situation very openly. We were very transparent. And we were able to highlight that adversity. But the beauty about this book is that we also share the brighter side of the pandemic, the brighter side of our adversity. So it really allows you not only to read our stories, but to also go through a journey with us as we share our how it affected us emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, spiritually, and how we were able to navigate through this adversity and the lessons that we learned and some strategies that we implemented to get us to this place now, which is our brighter side, right? So this book is definitely going to be transformational. It is going to be inspirational. You're going to cry. I know you're going to cry with some of the stories. You're going to feel empowered that if Reea went through that, if Grace went through that, if Stephanie went through that, if Joanne went through what she did, then I am able to go through. So this book is going to also equip the readers with what they need so that they can be able to ride through their storm and they can be able to get that tool needed so that they could gain, be optimistic and not pessimistic, and will be able to soar and see the brighter side of their, adversity. And that is the vision for this book. And it's the reason why this program and this book is here. Now I'm telling you, Janelle and the readers, I alone could fill this book with all the adversity. But God didn't
Amen.
want to hear from me alone. He wanted diversity. He wanted the readers to see, like, hey, it's not you alone. Like these 15 women went through, and there's so many more. So I'm really looking forward to each and every one of you buying this book and really being blessed by the stories within.
And what we didn't do in the last session that we're going to do here is if you're out there and you have a story, Miss Rhea is going to tell you how to connect with her upcoming anthology. Because when I tell you, she is making authors, best-selling, international coaches, everything she's doing here, you want to make sure you're hopping onto her next anthology. Now, we're going to get into the nitty gritty. We're going to start asking questions. With these questions, anybody can answer. You don't have to go in order. Just answer if you want to. If you don't, that's fine. But we want to hear from you if you have anything to say. So, the first question I have is, we know no one is a one person island. So, what support system did you use to help you process through adversity?
I'll take a quick go. Going through adversity, I think it's very important. One, as believers, our first support system is God looking up. But we also in the physical realm have, it's important to have like a mentor, and also a strong support system in terms of your close network of family and friends. So not necessarily a very big network, but just surrounding yourself with the right people that can give you the right advice or send you to the right external support systems if needed. So for me, I have a very close knit of family and friends that I go to, and also one or two mentors that I will bounce things off of. outside of looking up to God. And I think it's very important to share and not always try to keep everything to ourselves, because when you keep it to yourself, you can't get the help. And sometimes the help is right there. And you don't tap into that help, or just hearing a different point of view sometimes helps you and carries you a long way. So for me, that's what I did to help me through adversity.
Well, I love that you said just kind of being that anchor or having that anchor in God, when you know that you're not a one man or one person island, and also getting the help when it comes to mentors or other people, and then not listening to everybody. Like I feel like sometimes opinions are like a couple of kneecaps, right? Everybody got a couple of them. So a lot of times, you have to be careful because people will give you advice based off their experience. And if they're a person who operates in fear or worry or, stress or anything like that, then they're going to give you that too. So that's very important to watch who you get advice from. Okay, next person.
Come on, ladies. I'm going to try to call you guys out, right?
I would, I would have to say my support system was my pastor. Let me see where we're going. It's going. I'm sorry. I would say my support system was my pastor, my mom, and my coworkers. Because in our facility, we like to say that we have praying women, praying warriors in our facility. So I would have to say that those were like my support system, and it basically helped me to kind of get through and think on a daily basis, try to think out the box, um, hope, and just having faith that things would get better, and they eventually did.
Amen.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking there were a handful of persons, particularly at that opening phase of the COVID-19 pandemic, a handful of them who were particularly close and faithful in terms of their connection with me in getting through that particular time. Um, Generally, during periods of adversity, know that there are the select few of family friends that would be the support, that I would have. But I remember specifically during the pandemic, that first period, that I there are little things, just simple things that became support for me to get through something positive. I mentioned before that I love reading, and I have a sister abroad who was, she made it a point to follow through. We had our own private book club going on, and we were thinking, you know what, I'm gonna read so and so book, or I'm gonna read that other book, and like you're gonna read it, okay, so we'll read it together, and then we'll make a point of conversing about it and saying this is so stupid. Why did they die? It wasn't a movie, it was a book, but because we both love reading, and but I just wanted to make a point that these little things. Sometimes you think that it has to be some big thing that this person should give support, but sometimes just little things like that make a difference. And I have to say, thank God that He has definitely put, people in my life. And as Josanne rightly said, it doesn't have to be a huge group. Sometimes it's just five. Sometimes it might be two. Sometimes it might just be one person who would provide that shoulder to lean on, that person who would be that support. So, friends, family, but particularly, we'll get into it, but that relationship with God was my mainstay. That was my main support. Yeah.
Awesome. Miss Candace, I see your question. I'm going to ask that. I don't want you to forget, or I don't want you to think I'm leaving you in a blank, but I will ask that question. Miss Reea, I would love for you to answer this. We know no one is a one-person island. What support system did you use to help you process through adversity?
I'm going to focus on the adversity I was experiencing while dealing with COVID, because that was such a surreal experience for me. At the beginning, when COVID came, everybody shunned it. It reminded me of the AIDS epidemic when it just started, right? You have AIDS, everybody, they're afraid of you, scorn you. So what do people do? They hide. They hide it. There's so many people who passed away from COVID just because they hid it, because they didn't want to have that stigma or for people to know that they had COVID. I did the exact opposite actually. Because when I was faced with that adversity in that hospital room with no one, just four walls, right? Of course, I didn't went right away. And my reason for that is because I was really concerned about my mom. If she knew I had COVID, forget about it. We'll be burying her before. But it became a point where I had to focus so much on me that I was ready to tell her, put a big girl panties on because I need help. And I think once she knew that I had COVID, then the first thing I did, I extended to my online community. No, I had people in my circle. I have my husband, I have my children, I have my sister. I had them. But I felt like I needed more because this adversity was so deep. And being a believer in God, I wanted the prayer of people. I knew how powerful that would be. So it was important for me to be transparent and open. Oftentimes, like similar to what was said, we tend to hide what we're going through. Me being a coach, everybody always run to me. Me being a sort of empowerment in my family, people look to me. And oftentimes when I go through struggle, I keep it to myself because I need to have this persona of being strong. And sometimes that is how I lead when it's things that I could navigate. But there are times when I need help. And when I was in that hospital room, I needed help. So I took a picture out and I put it on social media. And I want to tell you, it was so important and it played a key part of my healing because of the mere fact that that cry for help reached over 90,000 people. And when I heard people calling, texting, voice noting me, and they were so invested in my survival, it gave me that hope, that courage that I know that I need to be able to push through. So for me, it's so important just to really be transparent and open. Toss that rope out there, and who is to be that support for you will be that support. I'm not saying talk everything, but we know how to function, and that was what I did in that particular moment. But of course, I have my family, I have my husband, I have some close friends, and depending on the nature of the situation, I could pick and choose who I will talk to. But that particular experience, you know, my online community really show up and show out for me, and that increased my faith in that time, knowing that I was going to survive this. You know, that is
I think that's super powerful. And I want to kind of say that because you're right, especially when it comes to an online community. You got to a place where you said, you know what? I need more prayer. So I'm going to extend up beyond my circle and I am going to just ask for prayer because I don't want to just be succumb to this. I need all the power I can get as opposed to being prideful and saying, you know what, I don't want nobody to know. That's another vulnerable moment for you to say, okay, I need help with this. Let me reach out and put it out there. And for it to get that many views or that many hits, that's amazing. So just to piggyback on what she's saying, we don't always have to hide or, I know Josanne said this too. We don't always have to hide and tuck and not share our stories in fear or whatever. Sometimes we need our community to hold our hands and pull us through their power, the power of their praying tongue. So it's really important to do that. If you're just joining us, you are here for the VIP virtual pre-launch panel discussion with the authors, and I always have to go back, the international best-selling authors of 2020, the year all the limits were served, how to find optimism during adversity. So welcome to the discussion. I also want to take time to welcome Miss China. I also want to welcome Miss Wendy Ann. Thank you all for joining me. You are joining us. You have been entered to win a prize at the end. So if you stay tuned and if you're on at the end, you'll be able to actually win. And Racine, look, thanks for supporting your sisters here as well. So we want to thank you all for actually attending. Miss Wendy Ann has a question, and Miss Wendy Ann, we're going to get to your questions in a minute. Please don't forget it. We have a a Q&A section, and we're going to funnel them through there. So we haven't forgotten you. We will answer your questions. We're going to kind of go through with the authors and go from there. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Miss Reea. Now, what we're going to do is, I don't. This is kind of with Candace's questions, but what was the biggest lesson you learned that you will continue to apply in with facing adversity? So you learned something through your adverse situation. Your story is in this book because you overcame adversity. What was the biggest thing you learned from that, and how would you use it the next time?
Come on, ladies.
Well, for me, I would say I learned patience. Um, just you understand that during COVID, things doesn't it doesn't always go the way you want it to go, but just having the patience to know that God would fix it and it would be fixed in its own time. One of the mottos I used to say was unstoppable. I used to listen to that song by Corinne Hawthorne every day. And that just helped me to know that no matter what I was going through, I was going to be unstoppable. If I had to get up 7 in the morning, get to work, be there to 9, 10 o'clock at night, make sure my patients were okay and that everything was together. I mean, during that time, we didn't have activities for our residents. So we had to be creative and have the patience and to realize that some of them are sick, some of them are not sick, but we're going to help them get through it. So we were doing tic tac toe on the walls and everything we could think of to be creative for them. So I would have to say patience, and just knowing that, God is going to work it out. And
Yeah.
if you do your part, He's going to do the rest.
He's going to do the rest. It's just knowing he's going to work it out. I'm loving also the support that we're getting from the other authors. Thank you, Miss Petra, for being here as well. I love seeing the support. Like, community is super important. You ladies are family now. When you do an anthology, you're family. Trust me. Right?
You are.
Your family. So I love seeing how you guys are, ladies are supporting one another. So Miss Grace, talk to us really about what did you learn? What was your big moment, and what did it teach you in 2020 to when facing adversity? What is it now? What did you carry over that you won't forget?
Yeah. Well, there are a number of different things that I would have learned. And something that will surely stay with me is that nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. Things
Yes.
are always changing, whether it's positive or negative, it's always changing, and no negative situation is going to remain in your life forever. It might seem like it's never ending, but really and truly, you will find hope because knowing that, hey, this too will pass, knowing that I have a God who loves me, yeah, is a thing that we grew up knowing. Jesus loves the little children, God loves you, da, 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 da. But it's something different when you have to apply it to your own life during a really adverse situation. So I have had to do that on numerous occasions, and particularly during this pandemic period, um, I've had to remind myself, and God had to remind me particularly that, hey, I am here. He doesn't go anywhere. Everything else changes. Nothing lasts forever except Him. He's the constant. He's the steady. So going forward is something that I will always, always, always remind myself that God is love and He loves us. And no matter what, you're never truly alone. No matter what, you're going to get through any situation that comes against you, anything that comes, And I'm thinking to take each thing now, each mountain or each deep valley, to take it as a challenge because hey, here's what, God is my strength. This is another thing here now I have to go overcome. I'm going to get through this because this is not going to last. No matter how hard, it's not going to last. And God is with me, right? So I can do this. I can overcome this. I'm going to do this. right? It's just now to figure out, okay, Lord, how am I going to do this? I know I'm going to do it, but I need you now to continue with me. So just reminding myself of his love, of his constant presence. That is definitely what I'm going to be applying and taking forward with me, facing any adversity that comes.
Yes. Some comments are coming up. Yes, patience, everything. Patience is very important. Miss Wendy Ann said patience is hard for some of us. And I agree with you, Miss Grace. It's really being grounded in God. Is really focusing on that. We did learn that, changes is inevitable. With COVID, you know that commercial, life comes at you fast. That's what I feel like with COVID. It was like 1 minute you were doing your normal thing, and then boom, it changed everything, right? And we had to adjust. So I love that. Ms. Josanne, what do you think? What's the biggest lesson you learned that you will continue to apply when facing adversity?
So when I was faced with adversity, I think the biggest lesson for me was being teachable and being obedient. Because sometimes we get some lessons thrown at us. Sometimes we get the lessons over and over, but we don't learn from them, or we're not obedient to what God is telling us to do. We still, choose to do our own thing, or we choose to carry our own interpretations because we refuse to listen to what God is probably trying to show us or what God is trying to tell us to let go of. And so for me, I had to learn not to be okay with not being in total control, and basically just surrendering to what God was trying to show me, even in the midst of the pain, and saying, okay, well, here's what I usually make my lemonade this way, but Lord, I'm willing to learn a new recipe, or I'm willing to let you throw in some bitters somewhere, or I'm willing to let you show me how to make a cake or something with it instead of always making this one lemon juice. So that's what I had to learn during adversity. It's not always about what we think we may know. Sometimes God is trying to also increase our knowledge, and give us some wisdom for maybe where He's trying to take us, or for how the circumstances are changing. Because with COVID, the circumstances were changing all around us, all around the globe. The work economy was changing, the family life was changing. And sometimes if you just remain static and stagnant, still trying to go with the old modus operandi, you can't grow and you can't adjust with what the new things that God is trying to do maybe in your life and around you. So that was very important for me. And that's what I would carry on. No matter the season, what are you trying to teach me in this season? What are you trying to show me? What am I supposed to learn? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to change in this season? Because when you go through his words, he talk about times and seasons. And so we have to be ready to adapt and change in every time and in every season.
That's good. And Miss China said, it seems like the whole world stopped. Everything stopped, and we had to rearrange our lives. We absolutely did. It was like we went from one thing. I don't care where you were. I don't care if you were in North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, the world change. And you are so, I love how you said, we have to kind of like, okay, what is the lesson in this? Instead of just like you said, going through it again, what are you trying to get me or teach me through this process, God? And really asking him those questions. I think that's really good. Thank you, Miss Josanne. Now, Miss Reea, what is the biggest lesson you learned that you would continue to apply when facing adversity?
This is, it might sound like a repeat, but this is a new life. I've been through a lot of adversity. One thing I've learned is that when life looks the bleakest and we feel that everything is falling apart, in reality, everything is actually coming together. Sometimes when we go through things in life, we don't understand why. But if we allow ourselves to go through the journey with faith first, believing in God, because sometimes it's really hard when you don't have faith. So having faith is very essential. But once you allow yourself to really ride the storm, ride the wave, you will realize that it's working out for your good, right? Coming back again to the book. being able to highlight the brighter side of the pandemic. While so much negative things were happening, people were dying, losing their jobs. Do you know that there were actually so much growth as well in so many different areas? My business that was really stagnant, grew. It grew. I was able to leave my job and do my business full time in the midst of a pandemic while people were losing their jobs. So for me, I experienced COVID and I almost died. I had many close encounters with death, but COVID was my closest. And guess what? My faith grew so great in that I feel like I'm even unstoppable now with the things that I feel that I would dare to do because of what I've been through. And I've also learned that, we got to know that we're not in control of everything. So we have to be able to let go of the things that we cannot change, and to learn the skills that we need so that we'll to help us to be able to adapt and grow in that situation. Oftentimes, when we find ourselves fighting and fighting and fighting that situation, we cause ourselves to be emotionally drained. We cause ourselves to fall into depression, to be angry, to be bitter, and we are at a place where we only see a lack. But when we're able to realize, like, listen, I have to let go of this situation and I have to change the way I think, then I'll be able to ask myself, what do I need to do to be able to adapt, to grow, to evolve from beyond that? And that was something that I also learned, in life in general. And I was able to apply a lot of these things, these lessons, to help me to face this adversity when I was dealing with COVID. And it's things that I will continue to apply as I go on. Life is our biggest teacher. That's a lesson that I learned. So you know what? When life tossed lemon my way, I put my glasses on and I cock my ears and I'm like, okay, what are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to show me? What am I supposed to learn from this? And once you allow yourself to think like that, then you will no longer be a victim because you realize that everything is coming for your good. And all you're going to be doing now in this space is finding these hidden gems. Oh, okay, this was supposed to teach me this. Wow, now I have grace. Now I have humility. Now I'm patient. Now I'm strong. I didn't know I had this creativity to write and to be who I am now. But adversity brought this out. Being sick for 6 years brought this out. It may have never surfaced. So once we really try to change that mindset, we're really going to be able to find a lesson and evolve.
Whew. All right, y'all know my favorite saying.
That's the collection board.
Pass the collection plate. Yes. Listen, that's really powerful. Miss China said so many people became creative. I even picked up my crocheting and craft. I put aside so many years. Yes, so many people, especially during them lockdown times. Listen, I don't know about y'all. I was so bored. I was just making up stuff because you couldn't do really nothing. You had to make your own food. You couldn't go to restaurants. There were so many things that you had to do, and you almost had to go back to the drawing board, back to the basics, right? When we were on that lockdown. But a lot of people got super clear, like Miss Reea, on what it is that they wanted to do. Some people got furloughed, laid off. So many things happened to people that it took them to a whole nother level, to the point where now people are like, jobs are like, where the people at? I'm having trouble because people were just like, this is not my norm anymore. Even though we hated going through that process, it really taught us a new norm.
Yeah.
Like, why do we have to work 40 hours a week? Why can't we just work it from home? So many people stood up for that. They really enjoyed it. So it wasn't all bad, which is why we are here hosting this event, so that you can understand that you too, we know that you had limits. We all had limits. That you also can take those limits and make lemonade. And we wanted to share with you real authors, real people who was able to do it by sharing their stories, their testimonies, and to show you how to do the same. So again, welcome to the VIP virtual pre-launch and panel. So our next question is, we're going to talk about why is faith or taking the big leap essential to help you on the other side at adversity, specifically when you can't see the entire picture. So, when you had to make the move, when you had to jump, when you had to take the leap, and you couldn't see everything, why was your faith so important, Miss Grace?
Yeah, it's faith, your faith, your faith. I think unless you are really grounded, as they say, if you don't believe in something, you'll fall for everything. So I think in having faith, and I would say having faith in Jesus Christ in particular, that is what really gives you the strength to stay strong when things are always changing, when things are uncertain. Yeah. Um, to be able to go to that other side, to overcome, you have to have faith. You need to have faith in yourself as well. And that has been a challenge for me. And so now I can recognize it, easily, right? Um, because you're going to need it. You're going to need it in the future. When you're going through it now and you're going through it or you went through it, having faith is what's going to cause you to keep trying, to keep searching, to keep holding on in order to overcome. Because if you let go, if you give up, if you lose hope, the Bible talks about hope being the substance of things, faith being the substance of things hoped for. So if you lose all hope, then where will your faith come from? You won't have faith. And I think it's a strategy of the enemy to cause us to be hopeless. Because in that hopelessness, there'll there'll be no faith. You'll believe in nothing. You'll just be aimless. So you won't overcome. So to me, it is really, really, really important that you are able to find your faith, hold on to your faith, so that yes, you can overcome every scenario that would come your way.
Amen.
Yeah.
Miss Reea, we're on the same page. I was about to read Miss Wendy Ann's comment. She said, "This pandemic brought me closer to God. It thought it had well, it taught me how I'm sorry, I had to go up to
It
become a
taught me how to
great
become a
mom, also to try different meals that I thought I would never eat." Yes, we had to be like magicians in the kitchen because I was like, because everything was closed, like seriously. So we had to like, how are we going to eat? So it was like going back to the beginning. Please tell the ladies I have so many fears. Fear is good and bad. Fear is good and bad. I know last time we talked was about pushing through those fears. Um, and then Miss China said anxiety because of COVID-19 was overwhelming. Listen, I always say the whole world went through a trauma when COVID-19 hit. Um, we call it adjustment disorder in the mental health world. When something happened to you and you all of a sudden have to do something else, it's called like adjustment disorder. It's a diagnosis that we have to put our clients on. I said the whole world went through adjustment disorder when COVID hit because we all had to do something different, whether we wanted to or not. Our lives changed, and those changes that took place are still, they're still happening now, to the point where it's made some of the rules and regulations different and bent, like just because of the pandemic. So this is amazing. I always like to say, when we're talking to the authors, their stories, their advice, the things that they've been through is a great way for you to take it and use it and implement it in your life. When you walk away from this really live event, you should have so many tools in your toolbox that you can use to help you when you're faced with adversity. Because again, adversity is going to come. You have some people who take adversity and they're like, I'm going to pick it apart. Like the lady said, I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to keep moving. But you also have some people who are faced with adversity and they take their own lives. So here's an opportunity for you to take your lemons and make some sweet lemonade. Our next question, no, Stephanie,
Mhm.
when it comes to um, answering this question about, the big leap, talk to us about that. Why is faith so important?
For me, when I was taking a big leap, meaning that I took on a lot of different hats, I would say during the pandemic, and the one that I think most of is, I would say, the pageant. I decided to do something that I wasn't for sure I would be able to do. And when I took the leap of faith, I just said, Lord, I'm gonna be all in. And like I said, if I do my part, you do your part. I didn't know if I would have the support of family and friends. And at some point I had some, but not all. And it was hard for me because I felt like I would have had more support. And I had to dig within myself and say, look, at the end of the day, you're doing something for you. Um, I always revert back to my accident. It goes to a point where I was in pain every day. And depression, sometimes Black people, we don't like to talk about depression or acknowledging it. I went through a period of depression, anxiety, and I had to learn my triggers and not let the pain define me. So for me doing the pageant, like I told people, it wasn't so much about winning. Winning is great, but when you can do something that changes you in a way where when I had the anxiety, when I had the depression, and when I was in pain, I couldn't get up out of bed sometimes. I wouldn't put makeup on, really wouldn't do my hair, So, in doing the pageant, it helped me to want to do something, want to be better. Like they say, each day, God gives you a new day, and you try to make that day better than the last one. So, I got to a point where I said, I'm not going to let the pain define me. I'm going to get up, and do everything that I have to do within my ability. And I would have to say things are much better now than they were before. But I would have, how we say, we see people take their lives and people go to drugs and people go to alcohol. I asked God to give me the strength to do everything that I needed to do. And it was hard. It was it was a it was very hard, but I did it. So in taking the leap of sorry, and taking that the leap of faith, I overcame some things, and I realized sometimes as women we don't realize our strengths. And I felt by having the faith, God taught me that I have the strength to do all the things that I wanted to do, within my ability. And when I look at the outcome of it, I did win, and I'm doing things now that I never thought that I would be doing. So faith is a big part.
Amen. And I
And
think
when
that's
I do
really
it again, I'll
good.
take the leap of faith again.
Absolutely. And it's like that support. I know Miss China mentions, family don't always support. That's when you gotta dig sometimes into yourself and kind of make it happen. It's great to have support in the community. It helped us kind of like Miss Reea said with the pray it helped kind of further us along. But if you don't have that, then what can you pull from? And that's when you need to dig really down deep within. We of course know we need God, and then you need to move forward with that. This is really good, and I want to take a segue to say, here's your opportunity to go ahead and buy the author's books. Miss Reea has kindly put their links in there, so you have the opportunity to go to their personal pages and get your copy today. Miss Josanne, what is your viewpoint of the faith and taking a big leap in the midst of adversity, doing it even though you have all these things to face?
For me, one is remembering that at least when you're taking the leap, and especially if you getting that nudge from God, because He usually gives you a few signs or breadcrumb trails to
Mhm.
keep reminding you that he's the one talking to you. You have to remember that anything he does is for your good. So if you take the leap, it's for your good. It's not for anything bad. It's not for anything negative. It's all to work together for your good. So I think once you believe that, um, you can start to build the confidence to take that leap. And then another thing that I do is I try to remember all the things that people have done for me before. So, because sometimes we tend to forget, or sometimes when you go through something and you overcome it, um, you overcome it already, and you forget how much of a big deal it was when you were going through the process. So I try to remind myself that, hey, you got through this before, you overcame this before, God pulled you through before. Why do you think he won't pull you through now? And while I was writing my book and even going through that process to even get to writing the book, he kept asking me, like, what do you believe? So in everything, it's like, what do you believe? Do you really believe that I would tell you to do something that's not for your good? Do you really believe I would send you down the wrong path? What do you believe in this situation? So that I kept now looking at everything that was going on and asking myself and rechecking myself and recalibrating my thoughts and my mindset to make sure that everything that I was doing and everything that I was thinking would line up for my good, as God said. So for me, taking the big leap is essential, because most times if we don't take that leap, um, or we don't close some doors, the others won't open. And so sometimes God is waiting on us to show him, um, just as he has shown us many times before, that he's there for us and he's coming through for us. We also have to show him that, hey, I trust you and I believe you. I'm going to take this big leap of faith and allow him and challenge him now to do his job. So for me, that's very important.
And that's very good. I love how you said that, to challenge him. If God is telling you to believe, because that's what faith is. My daughter and I was having this conversation on our way here, like, it's really down to what you believe. So believe in something, although you can't see it, right? Or, you don't have evidence for it. The only thing you have is believing it in your heart of hearts and knowing that it's going to happen, right? So if God says, okay, I need you to believe, then you have to trust God at his word. And like you said, challenge him to do his job. Well, God, you told me to believe in X, Y, and Z. So I am waiting for you, or I'm going to trust. I don't want to say waiting for you. I'm going to trust that you're going to show up. Because some people say I wait on God, and God is waiting on them. That's a different story. Miss Wendy Ann said she's going to take this quote: "Don't let your pain define you." And then Miss Wendy also said, "Father is key." We have some questions about pain, and we're going to talk about that. Miss Reea, I'm gonna have you answer the question about faith, but Miss China said, "I have arthritis, so please speak to me because the pain is something that makes me want to give up." And during our Q&A, I want to go back to this question because I know that you have some experience with some pain.
I have experience with so many things. But I thank God for every experience, because now when I meet with people on my regular walk of life, I could relate to them at every level that they're at. So I am able to connect first just by being empathetic. So most definitely, I'm thankful for the pain. That's how wise I am now. But I'm coming to this question. Why is faith or taking a big leap essential to help you to get to the other side of the adversity? I'm going last, and each and every one of you touch on something. But what Josanne said that was so profound that it was something I was going to respond with is that my many experience with adversity um, has taught me life lessons. But one of the main things that it has shown me is that my God, He is there. He's truly my Jehovah Jireh. He's truly my Jehovah Rapha. He's truly that friend that's taken closer than a brother. So what I have learned to do, really and truly, is just really trust God. I am so in tune with my relationship with Him, with His voice, and also that spirit of discernment. So when I see the way God move in my life, when He asks me to do things now, sometimes I just laugh. I'm like, God, like I seriously, I kid you not. I talk to God like I'm talking here. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how much things you want me to do at once? Or like, God, for real? And sometimes I'm like, just bring it on, God, bring it on. And one of the biggest leap of faith I have taken recently was deciding not to go back and do my job, in the middle of a pandemic. But even from the beginning of the pandemic, all while I was ill in the hospital, I mean, God was showing up and making ways for me. So, as Josanne said, like really doing, like remembering God's track record in my life. I mean, this is the God that while I was laying up in the hospital, my employers were saying to me, don't worry, we're going to make sure your family is okay, and I'm going to make sure that your pay comes every week. I had check piling up while I was laying in the hospital. This is the same God when I was laying in the bed, although I had no need. People were reaching out to me and asking me if my family is okay. Do I need help? They want to be a blessing. And I'm like, no, we're good, we're good. Not because I'm too proud, but we were really good. We didn't needed it. And I'm watching God over my childhood to me to this place show up for me. Does that mean that my faith was always strong? No, but my track record with Him, my experience with Him, keep building that faith, building that faith, building that faith. So when God said to me, my daughter, I am closing this chapter of your life of you being an employee. And it's time for you to walk into that calling that I told you about since 2015 and do your business full time. I was at a place, guys, where my faith in Him was so strong. After He brought me back from the dead, guys, you got to read the book, because in my story, I share about kidney failure, heart failure, lung failure. I mean, you name it, I had it. My body turning sepsis, pneumonia, triple. And the doctors tell me there's nothing more they can do for me. That was their words. Those were their words. And being able to walk out of that hospital 10 days later and being here to tell the tale, when God said to me, hey, leave that job, I got you. I'm like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? And there's something about surrendering to God and allowing yourself to be so open. Because once I did that, I was hearing Him loud and clear. This is the business plan. This is it. I didn't need a coach or a mentor in the physical. I'm telling you, He was all of it for me. So really looking back at all what God have done for me and knowing who He is in my life and understanding that He is the all-knowing God, understanding that everything that is happening in my life, He already know it, then I'm just, all I have to do is be vulnerable, be open, be accepting, and just trust it. And that's how I'm able to see the bigger picture.
And y'all know what I want to say.
Ask the collection basket.
Man, that was so powerful.
Thank you.
Listen, look at God's track record, okay? Hi, Miss Jennifer. Look at her, look at God's track record and see how phenomenal He's been, even in the smallest things, and know that He is able to help you through whatever it is you got going on. So whatever adversity that you're dealing with, the problem I think that we do is we try to do it ourselves in our own strength. And that's what really gets us in a lot of trouble and fatigue. And we're not really trusting God with the process. I love it. All right, ladies. If you're joining us, we are here with the VIP virtual pre-launch and panel discussion for the International Bestselling Authors of 2020, the year all the limits were served, how to find optimism during adversity. Now, everybody on here, I am actually putting your name in the raffle. So make sure you drop your name because we're going to have a raffle at the end so you can win the grand prize. If you're not here, we will skip you. All right. We just want to let you know. So you do need to be here to get the prize. All right. Our next question for the authors is, how did 2020 prepare you for some of the world events today? So right now we are in this crisis with food shortages, gas prices, recession, and other stuff that's going on. How did that prepare you for now, Stephanie?
I would say that going through the time of COVID, we learned how to ration, we learned how to find resources, and some of those resources are still going through today. You have the pantries. So far as the gas prices, there isn't anything we can do about that except for walk more, run, use public transportation. But so far as food, the pantries still exist. And just family, learning how to lean on each other, cook more together, you know. But you definitely take it back to the basics. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now you can eat out a little bit more, but I think everybody learned to take it back to basics with the cooking and um, just doing, looking at everyday life. You learn to, what do you say, appreciate the little things in life a little bit more than before. I think prior to COVID, we might have took some things for granted, but now we're not taking them for granted. So,
Amen.
especially me, I would say.
Amen.
Me too.
Yeah. Miss Grace?
Yeah, I think I agree fully with Stephanie. You have to be able to um, ration, and these are the things we would have learned during that COVID-19 period that was so stiff and heavy when it was stronger and more alive in the world. But trusting God, leaning on God to really, as Reea said, be, your provider, to be the healer, it helps you not to worry as much, because if you really focus on everything that is happening, in the world today now, you can become a real worrywart, you can become really fearful, you can allow these things to stress you out. But 2020, going through it, I would have seen how uh, leaning on those who are there for you, keeping your support system, all of that is part of what can allow you to be sustained. When you think about the things that are happening now, prices are going up like crazy in Trinidad for food, you know. But if it is, we continue to remember the things that are important, family life, and maintaining that communication, with your loved ones, and all of these things. They're bit by bit, little by little, those things that we would have gone through in the past years. If we continue with them, we'll realize that, hey, you can make it through this time. Keep your faith up, keep your strength up, communicate with people, and be humble. There's no time to feel too proud to ask for help, and these things. We have to find our ways to adapt now, because things are changing so suddenly. And any other day, every week is something new, something stressful, depressing piece of news, that we have to be able to cope with. So, all those things would have been little ways showing us bit by bit that, hey, get prepared, because you never know what can happen. But stand strong and stand firm regardless.
Get prepared. I love it. As Kenan said, finding a balance in career, yourself, and family. What tools have you learned to balance? Okay, Miss Kenan, I'm gonna get back to that in 1 minute. We're probably about to do Q&A in probably like 10 minutes. Restructuring your life, especially finances, is a challenge for sure. Yeah, like some of these things with COVID kind of made us, like you said, with cooking and stuff, kind of made us do more and implement those things in our lives. Miss Josanne, tell us how did 2020 prepare you for some of the things that's happening in the world? And we know there's a lot of stuff happening in the world, but how did it prepare you for some of the things that's happening in the world today?
Well, it definitely 2020 showed me not to take things for granted, or definitely not to take the persons that we are blessed to come in contact with, for granted. And also, as Grace was saying, to go in preparation mode, to be prepared, because we don't know where the world is heading, right? And at the same time, while we are in a bit of being unknown or unsure of where the world is heading, we still stand firm that wherever it is heading, we know that God is going to position us, as I said before, for our good. So sometimes, it's preparing ourselves for the future, for how the economy is changing, maybe saving a bit more, maybe starting a retirement fund, the things that you were taking for granted and thinking, hey, I'll deal with that later. You start putting more stringent measures in place to ensure not only your safety and stability later on, but also that for your family, and encouraging it for your friends as well. So 2020 did things like that for me. It made me more conscious of things that I needed to put in place, and also more conscious about fulfilling my dreams, because life is short, and more conscious about maybe learning a different skill. Also, like helping out more, being more of a support to others who may be in need. And I try to make myself a bit more available to that as well now. And, just trusting in God, and helping him, giving in to him, helping me to grow and be a better version of myself every day.
I like growing and being a better version of yourself every day. And it reminded me, I just saw this thing on someone's Instagram, and it was like somebody asked this guru, like, what is one of the biggest regrets, that people have? And he said, believing that you have more time. So it's really important that you start preparing and doing those things now, like this book. You guys took a big leap on yourselves, and you guys got down to writing your stories, and you took the time to share your vulnerability so that other people can really learn how to take these tools so they can live a life and better cope and deal with adversity. And I want to take a leeway to say, make sure that you buy the book today. Make sure that you're able to go to the author's page and click their link to purchase your copy of their book. And the reason why I put this in was because it's important to understand these stories, the meat of these stories, the point of these stories. I don't know too many authors that just write to write, right? I don't, right? A lot of times they're wanting to send a message, even if it's in a fiction book. A lot of times it's a message in the stories. And this book is a real, raw, vulnerable, transparent message to you, the readers, that will help you somehow, some way identify yourself in these stories and walk away with what you need to help you overcome adversity. We seriously don't know what is about to happen in the upcoming years with our world. I mean, it's like the craziness is just piling up every day you turn on the news, right? But what you can do, you can't control the world, but you can learn how to take the tools in this book to control yourself. So make sure you go to their page and click your link and buy your book today. Miss Reea, tell us, for you, when it comes to 2020, how did that prepare you for today's events? What's going on in the world?
To be quite honest, if you had asked my sister this question if she was here, we would have been taught.
Yes.
We would have been schooled, right? And I know that this question is an inspiration of her particular chapter in the
Yes,
book,
it
right?
is.
But most definitely, focusing on the question itself as it relates to food shortage and gas and the recession. I don't drive, but I'm impacted because now when I take a Uber,
Mm-hmm.
it costs a lot of money, right? Food shortage is something that has always been there, but it hasn't been in the upfront that much, right? Specifically here in America, and so forth. But most definitely, there's so much people now that are hungry, and then we know that the world is in a recession, and it's about to get worse. Last yesterday, I sent my son to buy a case of water, and he paid $12 for that case of water. And I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure that case of water was $7. And I was baffled by it because it's such a big jump. And a lot of things I've experienced, with 2020, um, that have me in a place now where I'm like, I'm a little bit confused, and some things I'm very certain of. I always pride myself, with having a life insurance policy. Like, if you talk to me, everybody know, they already know how to bury me, all what I want. Everybody ticket already in place, and I'm sorry. Debt is something that we have to experience, so I'm prepared. Financially, my family is prepared. But during COVID, at that time when I almost got struck with debt, I didn't need a policy. They were putting me in a hole, and that was like a wow.
Mm.
So there's some things that sometimes that money really can't prepare you for, and that's what I want to say, right? Because as prepared as I was, if I had died during that time, my family would have had money to really sustain them, but they wouldn't have to worry really about that. Whole preparation wasn't needed. And at the same time, I remember going through the pandemic and understanding that what we were dealing with, and at one point my kids' spare room was filled with food, filled. And I remember worrying about my family in Trinidad and in Jamaica, and my husband and I, we spent a good bit of money making sure that they were equipped, making sure that they had. But as much as we spent, we couldn't really sustain, right? We could have spent $8,000, $10,000. That was still like 1 month worth of food when you think about everybody that we blessed. And I realized the importance right now, because now it's not just the pandemic alone that is affecting everything. We have the war in Ukraine, right? We have the all these different things affecting us right now. So we need to be in this mindset where we have to understand, see what's going on. I'm quoting from my sister. As believers, we love to say God is our Jehovah Jireh, and He's our provider, and that is true. But God also gave us wisdom.
Mm.
He don't destroy a city without a warning. He
Mhm.
gave us wisdom, and as we see what is going on in the world today, the high food prices, gas prices, in some cases there's no jobs. Where there's some cases they're looking for work, they're looking for people to hire. But we have to see what's going on, and it's important for us to make preparation. And my sister's story in this chapter, she's not here today. She talked about really seeing the people who are in need, who are hungry, the children. So it's important for us now to pay it forward if we are able to support and help people, because I do a lot of that. And also to really spend our money wisely and to make preparation. I'm not saying have a whole house full of food, but I realize, guys, that if today or tomorrow something huge happen and we cannot get to the bank, my money in the bank is not going to help me. So we need to be prepared now. We need to have food. We need to have a little of everything here to help us. And 2020 has really allowed me to see that, and for me to understand the importance of it.
Mhm.
Fully headstrong, going crazy, but it's so important that we really be observant to what is happening. And as believers, yes, God will provide, but we have to utilize wisdom, right? We can't be lavish and spending and we're not making preparation. So preparation is the key, and this is what 2020 has taught me. Whether it's my health, whether it's my finance, whether it's the food in my kitchen, preparation is the key, and we need to all analyze and see what we need in our life to help us to be prepared for all the unforeseen that will come. Because it will come.
I love it. And even though I know your sister, this was pulled from her story, I felt like the audience needed to hear this though. We don't want people to be so oblivious to what's going on in the world that they're super focused on the high inflation and things that are going on, that they're not doing the things to prepare themselves. So, wanted to kind of make a side note to say, here's some things that you can do to help you prepare for what's coming up. Because some people, when 2020 came, they were wiped out. They didn't have a savings. They didn't have a lot of things. And when it came and they got furloughed, they were struggling. So, now is the time to kind of start prepare when it looks like nothing is really going on, although we see a lot going on. I feel like there's always going to be something going on in the world, right? There's never a dull moment here, but here's an opportunity for you to start preparing for it so that you're able to kind of move forward in the process. So yes, Machana said, and having, I went over, hold on.
It's on the screen.
Okay. And having to deal with all of the craziness happening around in communities, gun violence, robberies, rapes, killing, etc. And we talked in the last session how just all that has increased since COVID. Just the suicide, the homicide, all the crime has drastically increased with the pandemic and the aftermath, which is what we're dealing with now. So now we have one more question for the author, one more question for the authors, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty. And I really thank you, ladies, for sharing your story. This is really good. The last question is, how do you help others deal with adversity, or better yet, how do you help others serve their limits? So what do you do with what you have to help other people serve or get through adversity? We're going to start with Miss Grace.
Okay, so I think as we was talking a little while ago, the practical things, what do people need, especially when they're going through a tough time. Sometimes you might be willing to help, but you're doing things that they don't really need. And I think helping is really being able to identify the needs of that person, because it may not be food at the time. They might need a listening ear. It may not be that they want a long lecture. They just want company. So being able to identify what persons really need during their difficult time, I think that is how I approach it, trying to really identify, okay, so, what is the actual problem here and what do you need? And sometimes a simple thing as asking them, what do you need? How can I help you? Sometimes that simple thing, they may tell you, they may beat around the bush, you may discern it. Sometimes, if you're sensitive, God of Himself will guide you, or sometimes people say, that little voice, just guides you to really identify what that person might be going through if they're hesitant to talk about it, and you would be able to help them at the point of their need, literally, right? So it's whether it is you need to just sit and listen to them. Sometimes you might need them to be guided accordingly, like perhaps they need to speak to a counselor. I think I saw a comment earlier about being ashamed to even talk about things. And really and truly, sometimes you may not want to speak to somebody who you're familiar with. You may want to speak to somebody who's a stranger, or you may be afraid to speak at all. But just making that step, making that move to have that discussion or conversation with someone who is not familiar to you, but they may be able to better guide you as to how to deal with whatever adverse situation is in your life at that time. So even if you aren't that person to give the advice, sometimes you might be able to lead them to someone who can, you know. So really and truly, I think that is one of the practical ways, identifying the need. Because yes, you can give food, you can give this, you can give that, but is that really what they need? They got the food, they appreciate it, but really and truly, they really wanted to hear that nugget. They wanted to hear, it's going to be okay. So it really depends on that scenario. So I think with us being sensitive to what persons could be going through and what they are going through if they identify it, and then, thinking about it, ask God about it, pray about it if you have to, but sometimes you would you know, how is best to help that person as they may need at that time.
Yes. As China said, prayers, believing in a higher power, and having someone you can trust to talk to, that means a lot. And then she also said mental wellness is very important. And I know we kind of addressed this last segment, but when we're talking about the mental health that COVID has like just put the world into, it's like incomparable to what we've seen this generation. We know that previous generations went through some other viruses and things like that, where kind of spread and got rid of a whole population of people. But our generation haven't. Most of the people in our world has not experienced this, so this is new for us. And a lot of cultures or even in ethnic groups, a lot of times counseling is stigmatized, or it's like, go pray, like which Miss Reea said. Yes, pray. We love God. We all believe in God. Well, most people believe in God. However, it's okay to talk to a therapist. These therapists are normally trained and got a lot of education to kind of assist you. So it's okay to have both. So don't be caught up in that stigma that you feel like you can't go to counseling to help you, even with the PTSD. And I'm going to repeat that, even with the PTSD that came from COVID, the year 2020. Okay. Miss Stephanie, your turn. I would love for you to hear from you. Tell me, what are your thoughts? How do you help other people turn their lemons into lemonade or whatever, pie, cookies, whatever it is?
I, I would say the listening ear. The facility that I work in is, I have a lot of patients that either have dementia, schizophrenia, depression, bipolar. So the listening ear is very important nowadays. From COVID to now, a lot of our patients are not the elderly patients. They're younger. They're in their 30s, their 40s. I would say up to like 50. And the issues that they had is that they couldn't deal with COVID, so they went to drugs, they went to alcohol. I've had patients that took K2 and jumped
What's
out of
that?
windows. K2 is like a synthetic drug, I would say. Um, they sometimes they lace it with weed and different things like that. And I had a patient that took K2 and he jumps out of a second floor window, broke his legs, and he had rehab for a long time. So it's like when we look at what we go through or have gone through during COVID, you could say I can understand why a person may turn to drugs or why a person may turn to alcohol and how it can nearly kill them. One of the experiences that I had about a month ago is I was on the A train and a guy came through and he said, I've worked all my life. I can't get assistance. I lost my job. I am now homeless because I lost my apartment. And he said, I am not your typical homeless person. You know, I've worked all my life and all I want to do is work and I can't find a job. I'm hungry right now and I need food. And this man went to where the two cars are and he was going to jump off the train. And the amount of people that said, brother, let's sit down, let's talk. We had to say to them, like, what is it that you need right now? If you want food, everybody pulled out things that they bought, gave them money, and just say, like, these are hotlines, these are, companies you could talk to that could help you. And the whole time, when you could see a train sit there and pray, people from different ethnicities, and some people, like, we was like, Lord, this is at a time like a month or two ago where you started seeing people jumping in front of trains. I don't know if y'all remember that, but there's been instances where people jumping off tracks and jumping off trains. And I mean, like, that hit home where I was just like, oh my God, how could we help? I was like, brother, please do not do this. Not that it's going to mess up the timeline of getting where you're going, but because we don't, for men, we don't want to lose our men, but just to think that he was at the point of killing himself. because one, he could not provide for his family, one, he did not have food, and he did not have a job. So people, like there were people on there saying, look, here's a referral. The other thing is that you need to talk to somebody that's on a higher level that could counsel you for
Mm-hmm.
what you're going through and assist you. Sometimes people go and they feel like they can't get assistance. I've known people that have gone to public assistance and tried to get, you worked all your life, COVID hit, you can't pay your rent, you don't even care about food stamps. You like, just help me get to connect to pay my rent so I can have a roof over my head. So it's like when I see people going through that, I try to share whatever information that I have. But when I tell you praying people on that train, like nobody was going to let that man go through that door to jump off that train because we watched him pace and pace. So you're thinking to yourself, is he going to try to do something to someone or do something to himself? And he held it in until finally he came on and said what he was going through. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say having a listening ear and being able to effectively talk to the person or refer them to somebody that could assist them. It's
Yeah.
even working in a nursing home, like I said, I see it all the time. Like I had a young guy, I'll give you examples. I have a young guy, he's 35 years old, and he had a stroke. He's amongst people that are 50, 70, 80-year-olds that had strokes that are now walking with canes and walkers. And he's sitting there thinking that he can't do it. And I had to open up to him and tell him, I said, look, you see me walking each and every day. But I was that person 2015 that had an accident that led me later walking with a cane, severe back pain, where I get shots in my back. And I never stopped to say, I'm not going to do. I still press forward. And I know everybody may not have that that pushing go get attitude, but sometimes when you know you have to work to put a roof over your head and feed a child, I think it's the motherly instinct that sit in. But when you're young and you don't have those responsibilities and you have parents that take care of you, you tend, and I had to break it down to him and say, your parents are elderly. You could be doing if you could use a cell phone and you
Mm-hmm.
could use a tablet and do all these other things, you could roll your wheelchair. You can make that step to try to walk with a rollator walker. And he said to me, you know what, you're right. And
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, you can be an inspiration to somebody. And I'm glad I was able to be his inspiration, and he's doing a little bit better. But sometimes people get stuck in a rut and they just think it's not going to happen.
And to
So
piggyback
I would
off
have
your
to speak.
story, it's almost like you also shared the things that you went through, and it helped to
Hmm.
motivate him to kind of push through and kind of get out there to do some things on him for himself. So this is why it's
Hmm.
important to share your story. You could think, we're alone in something. Listen, my daughter had to use her breathing machine in the gas station because my dog ate her inhaler. That's another story. But she's in the gas station with the inhaler, and I think four people said, "Oh man, my husband had to do the same thing. Oh man, I had to put my nebulizer out. Oh man, I had one," just because she showed a part of her that no one really gets to see. But
Hmm.
it was relatable to the other people to say, "Oh my God, yes, I'm having that same issue. Oh my God, it's this weather." To have that relatability, and that's what people need to bring them hope. So I'm glad that you were able to share. We're going to actually in a minute, y'all better make sure y'all stay on, or you're not gonna get the prize. No, I'm playing, but I'm not playing. You need to stay on. We're going to actually ask Josanne. So tell us from your perspective, how do you help people turn their lemons into lemonade, or help them overcome adversity?
Well, I think for all of us, just being a part of the anthology to start off, we are helping persons overcome their adversity and showing them how to turn their lemons into lemonade. And so As we discussed earlier, being vulnerable enough and open enough to share our stories or to share our testimonies is a starting point, because sometimes we keep everything in or we don't share. And so you never know who can be blessed or encouraged by something that you share, or something that you would have experienced. So this is one way in which we can do it. Also providing persons, as Grace said, at their point of need. Sometimes money goes a long way, but it's usually going to fill a very immediate need that the person may have. And so it may not necessarily solve a long-term problem or a deficit in their mindset. So sometimes also I may send, whether it's a word of encouragement, I may send a book that I read that really helped me, a sermon I listened to that really helped me. It could be even a meme that has a really good inspirational nugget that the person could be cheered up by, and they could, learn a lesson from. So there's different things we can do, as well as Stephanie said. Also, guiding them to external support resources that like counselors or psychologists, pastors, or friends that may have gone through something similar to what they are going through. So it depends really on the situation. Definitely how we can meet their need immediately and also long term, so that they don't keep going through the same issue over and over again, but that they can really come out and overcome it, and also share their testimony now when they have overcome.
Yes. And that's kind of the point, is kind of that reciprocity, where it's like breaking those chains, but also building someone else up and showing them how to break those chains as well. So I think that's really, really good. Miss Reea, we're going to have you answer this, and then we're on to drum roll the prizes.
Yeah. You know, for me, I always say, because of the experience that I've been through, I think it makes you so, it gives you the ability to be able to empathize and to meet people at the point of their need. And each of you touch on something super strong. Sometimes someone need may not be financial. It might be a word. It might be a hug, whatever it is. But I'm able to help people, deal with their own adversity through many different ways. And uh, it's going to be based on my encounter with that person. But you want to know something? Sometimes tough love is needed. And because I've been through being hungry, being abused, being sick, sometimes people need that tough love. It's not that I'm not empathetic, but I understand, like, I'm hearing you, but I'm not hearing you. Like, you can move past this, you could shift, it's an excuse. So it all depends on the individual, but I'm very big on giving tough love. But my tough love is coming from a loving place. So it's tasteful, but I'm letting you know, I'm telling you what you need to hear. Sometimes this is what we need to do. A lot of times we want to tell people what will make them feel good, but we're not doing them a service. And I will tell them. I tell my husband, I tell my kids, and I'll tell people too. I said, listen, would you prefer I lie to you in this space? Or do you want me to be honest? You see, a true friend or somebody who consider you will tell you the truth. And that truth might sometimes stings. Would you prefer that I whisper and tell you, hey, go stick a mint because your bread is a little bit high? Or would you prefer I let you go out there and everybody laugh at you and talk about you behind your back? This is talk I have with my kids, my family, my home. And sometimes, depending on some of the individual, I will have those tough discussion with them. Even right now with all the adversity, with no jobs or poverty, or some people also get lost in making excuse.
Mhm.
Economy is failing. There's no jobs. Hey, I was a woman one point in time. You see what people saying on Facebook? You come from a long way. I used to do 10 days cutting the grass on the street. I didn't get here from because I choose to just, life just give me something. I know about starting from the bottom. So I'm sharing that because right now in this space, so many people are complacent because they almost hold the economy at a point. And I will give you that tough love and still support you. But I rather help you, give you a fish. I mean, teach you to fish rather than give you a fish sometimes. And I'm very charitable. And if you go to my business page, that's what I say. As an author, I want to teach you rather than always do for you. So that's why I have different packages, right? And I do the same thing for the people that I meet. I'm also able to connect with people based on where they are because of what I've been through. And being able to become vulnerable with that person you're talking to and be empathetic and help them to really feel that love and that compassion and that sincere care really helps them too. So my way of helping people is not a one way, right? It depending on that individual. But I will give you the tough love. I'll give you the financial help. I'll give you that support that you need in whatever way, right? And that is just the way that I show people. And I always tell them my life is a book. I'll tell you my darkest serious. I'll tell you my lowest point, so that you could look at me and say, if I could do it, if you could do it, I could too. And I could be very transparent. So again, there's no one way for me. There's many different ways. But one of the ways in which I do that and I could spread it across is with the book that I write. And if I do this book on my own, I'll reach a few. But when I team up, even though it's a business, I'm still on a mission here to help people, to transform people, to give them tools and solutions, to heal hearts, to help them to be healed and delivered and set free, whatever that may look like. And when I team up with groups of people, we can expand our reach. It's not just me alone, it's me and 14 other women or 15. So now this book is able now to really help people. And when you write this book, it is written in a way to give them back. So for me, again, my help or my support is really diverse. There's no one way. But I'll give you the tough love, the tough love, and I'll give you that close knit love like a mother. And I'll sympathize with you, I'll empathize with you, and I'll push you. It's no one way. It's just who I am.
Absolutely. And she will give you tough love. Amen. Well, that have concluded our panel discussion. We're going to move into the gift giving part. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go, I have a different app on my computer. I am going to shuffle through some names. And while I'm doing that, Miss Reea is going to tell you what the prize is. So I'm going to pick, and then we're going to go from there.
Okay, so I am an author, and the prizes are my books. So first, last year, we did this anthology. It is called the secret prayer of a righteous Black woman, the power of a mother's love. And listen, this book is so powerful. We have 12 authors who share the secret prayer. It's about parenting their children. There's hotlines in the back, based on the different topic. We talk about alcoholism, we talk about drugs, we talk about teenage pregnancy, we talk about suicide, we talk about mental health, we talk about racism, we talk about the prison system. I mean, there's so much of details in here. And this book is 17.99 on Amazon, and if you're buying it in person, it's 19.99. And this is going to be a gift for one of you wonderful ladies or men. And then I'm a personal development coach. I'm a parent. I'm a child coach. I'm so many different things. And what I've done to really empower women is that I've written this journal. It is called Learning How to Empower Myself, a 12-week guide to empowerment for women. It's a 12 weeks. There's 12 powerful topic. There's 7 days in each week to journal, ask yourself some thought-provoking questions with the hope of getting you to a place where you can really step out of your comfort zone, where you can have a positive mindset. And so there is a digital 10-step journal that goal setting guide that comes with this, because I believe if you diligently do the task, right, then you would have a renewed mind, and you would be ready now to transform and leap into that other place of growth in your life. as well as the 2020, the year all the lemons were served. It is not ready yet, but that book is going to be one of the books that is going to be presented as a gift as well. I'm sorry, I'm tongue twisting. And also a $25 gift card. And that's more so Amazon gift card. And I think that's more so for the international people. So let's see what who's going to be the lucky winner for any one of these four prizes.
Yes, so I give you
Oh,
one. Huh? Are for all?
yeah, let's see.
Okay.
I don't want to give away everything, so let's see what happens.
No. So you're gonna so we can go through there. So give me one moment. I gotta enter one more name. And then I'm gonna pull the thing. It took me out and had me do something else. So give me one moment. Um, let's see. Oh, before we move on, do we have questions? I think we had to answer Candace's
Oh,
question.
yes.
While we're answering Candace's questions, do we have any other questions? So it's picking a random name, and it picked Wendy or Wendy Ann. So Wendy Ann, if you're still here, comment below.
We're looking for it in real time, so you can't come after you do the replay. Real time. So I leave you here, comment below right now, and you just won yourself a book.
Miss Wendy Ann. Okay. While we're waiting for her, or we're gonna give her a couple seconds.
We have a lot of questions. I'm looking for the question.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm looking for the question too.
Are you looking too?
Yeah. For Candace. Okay. I'm gonna try again.
China. You wrote a lot, Jennifer. Thank you for being so interactive. That's what we want. So we have a question here from Wendy, and I got that first while I looked for Candace.
Okay.
I put it up.
So for Wendy, what do you do when you don't feel like talking about it because of shame? Any one of y'all can take that. Okay, China came up as a winner now. Sorry. So China. Oh no, Wendy's here. Wait, Wendy is here.
Okay, great.
Wendy is here.
So we could get both of them.
Okay, so Wendy and China are winners. Woo, woo, woo. And what you're going to do is Wendy and China, you're going to DM Reea, and you're going to provide her with your name and your address so she can send you the information. All right, so what do you do when you don't feel like talking because of shame? Yes, Miss China, you won, girl.
She's actually my client. She's my children. Pretty soon she's going to be a best-selling author as well.
Yes.
Upcoming children's book. Okay, so what do you do when you don't feel like talking out of shame? And I think that question was regarding what? Being in need, COVID in general. Sometimes based on what the topic is, it's normal to feel shame. But there's always someone that you could talk to. And if in your immediate circle there's no one to talk to, then the ideal person is a stranger. So whether that's a therapist, a counselor. I remember one time going through something so horrible in my life. I couldn't talk to no one, and I was dying inside. Guys, I was so depressed. I was getting panic attack. I'm on the street, and my heart just started to beat, and I felt like I was going to die. And even in that moment, I'm afraid to ask for help because I'm on my job. I'm pushing the baby. I was going through this really horrible experience in my life, really horrible. And I met someone who was a fellow caregiver. I didn't know her at that time, but she was a stranger. And she was just what I needed. It was like she was an angel. And I was able to share this horrific, dark secret. And she was able to really help me just talking. So sometimes, but I know I didn't want to go out and talk to other people, even though I had people, I didn't want them to know that. So sometimes when you're going through things in life that you believe is, if you're feeling shame, and if you cannot let go of that guilt and shame and be transparent, because sometimes, I mean, I've been there, right? Find someone who's a stranger. That could be a therapist. That could be, you know, um, a random, like a literally a random stranger. Call a hotline. We have hotline for that. We have hotline for that. Have you been abused? Have you been raped? Whatever it is. Are you alcoholic? Are you depressed? Were you cheated on and you can't, you know, take it? Whatever it is, you're going through divorce. There's hotlines. Call a stranger. You know what they're going to be? An honest listener.
Mm.
They're going to be that voice behind the phone. You don't need to give your name or anything. And that's my advice right there. But I really want people to come to a place where they could let go of that guilt and that shame and be open. But there are things that we don't want people to know, and that's okay. And that's the option that you have, to speak to find an honest listener, because I know that worked for me. Not once, but twice. But twice. And let me just share this really, really quick, even though we're behind time. Again, with that same situation, God showed up for me twice. I'm laying in my bed, buried in depression. Guys, I am very transparent. Haven't showered for 3 days, and I'm like midway in the middle of the mattress. That's how I felt. I could
Mm.
not get out of the bed. And I bought a weave from AliExpress online. This is in China. And I remember the person reaching out to me. So I'm telling you this because I am talking from experience. The person reached out to me and said, "Your weave have been shipped." And that time, WhatsApp was now becoming a thing. And I'm like, "Oh, Ali, they're talking to you now on WhatsApp." And they sent me the shipping, my weave and everything. So I know I was talking from someone from Alibaba because they had all the info. And it matched the email that came with the shipping as well. They came at the same time, just different outlets. And this Wednesday morning after 1 a.m. or so, because we're talking China time, the person reached out to me and they said, "I was going through the file and God told me she is in trouble." They could barely talk English, but I could read it. They could barely type it. And God said to me, "She is in trouble." I became friend with this person for probably a year. Her name was Doris, and then she disappeared. And she told me about honest listener. She told me about love being sometimes sweet, sometimes bitter, but it could be called whole love. She was a 24-year-old Christian. She sent me a graduation picture. She spoke to me at one time so I could hear her voice. But God used her. And I was able to talk to this person. Listen, she got me out of the mattress and she had me made a call that changed my life.
Mm.
And she was an honest listener. That's how she referred to herself. And we built a friendship for a year. And then one day, I don't know what happened. Either she disappeared, I couldn't find her, but she was indeed an angel. She said God told her. And I just remember that story. And I'm talking about 10 years ago.
Wow.
So it is powerful. So an honest listener, a stranger, it could be behind a hotline. It could be, churches have call line, prayer line. You could find it. It doesn't matter where you are in the world because most of these hotlines are free. And that's my advice from experience.
Awesome. So we had a lot of questions, and we're actually going to take some time to go through them via comment. We do want to take the time to thank you all just for being here and supporting these lovely ladies. Once again, you need to go buy the book. You should be able to go into the link. Each author has their very own website for their book. You're able to select it if they're your author that you know, select their book. And if it's the author that you don't know, be led to which author to buy it from. Once you select the book, you will order it. And then I want you to come into the comments and say, done. And where everybody would know what you're talking about. We know that you ordered your copy. These ladies really sacrifice their stories to help you to overcome adversity. So we want to be able for you to really have the opportunity, and then also share these stories with your friends and their friends. Even after the replay, invite some people to join or watch the live, because listen, all this information that you have, it's really helpful and it can help you change your life, because we all know that adversity is going to come knocking at our door. It's how we answer it that makes a difference. Okay. So thank you all so much for joining the powerful women, the international best-selling authors of 2020, the year all the lemons were served, so that you can grab your copies. And like when you're reading these stories, just act like you're sitting down and having a conversation with them, because that's what it is. And you just heard little bits of what's happening, a little bit of their stories. You'll be able to dive deeper once you grab their books and then go from there. So once again, thank you, ladies, for sharing and going deeper, and thank you, Miss Reea, for having me. And we look forward to seeing you purchase the new books, audience, and read it and tell us what your thoughts were. We are signing off, and we want to say thank you. And remember, the winners, please DM Reea your information so she can get your prizes to you, and then we go from there. Have a good
Thank
day.
you. Have a good
Thank you
day.
guys for tuning in. We really appreciate you. And
Thank
please
you.
Appreciate it.
follow the
Bye.
authors and their pages, follow them along the journey as they are, we have some new authors, so help them, support them. And I must say, if anyone is interested in becoming a part of my next anthology, I'm hoping to launch it in September. The name of this book is going to be called You Were Meant to Be Here, Healing Your Lost Inner Child from Trauma. So
Mm.
again, this book was given to me directly from God. And if you have been through something in your life, specifically from your young life into, I would say your teenage, your young life, definitely, if you are still here, then know that you were meant to be here. And what you've been through, you experience that because it is taking you and leading you into your purpose. And sometimes we get stuck in the why me and the pity party. But this anthology is going to help the authors them to really identify why they're still here, why they went through that, so that they can really be able to step into their purpose and their calling. Believe me, I've been there, done that already, which is why I believe in it that much.
Yes.
And also the readers, it will help you to heal, because we are going to be going through the 5 stages of grieving. And again, it's not always death. We grieve loss, with friendship, and all those different types of things. We're going to be talking about transformation, healing, acceptance, growth. So if you're interested, please, you can DM me, you can follow me on Facebook, you can email me. All my info is on Facebook. You can visit my website, www.darapublishing.co, not com. And just inquire, but I will be putting out more stuff on my Facebook page. So again, you were meant to be here. And guys, that's it. We're signing off. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday and the rest of the weekend. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.